think you have to realize that there's no perfect system, and catch wrestling, jiu-jitsu, aikido, they all have something you can take from them.
Precisely.
If you want to be the best grappler, the best martial artist you can be, you have to be able to look at any art and say, man, there's something in here that I need to complete my game. I wouldn't say I wanted jiu-jitsu for when I don't have my gun, because I always have a firearm on me. I wanted jiu-jitsu for when I wouldn't be allowed to use a firearm, when it wouldn't be appropriate. If I'm in a situation where I need to defend myself, which I'll tell you a story here in a little bit. It happened when I was in California 2 years ago, that I used jiu-jitsu, and a firearm would have put me in prison. But jiu-jitsu saved someone else's, potentially saved their life. And I quickly learned that if I can get good at leg attacks, that it does equalize a lot. It really, I gravitated towards them because it did. I started getting my first submissions on upper belts with leg locks. So I was like, oh man, this kind of levels things down here. I'm going to go to an area that they're not. If I'm rolling with a purple belt and he is not good at leg locks, well, if once I get to his legs, now we're on the same level. We're on the same playing field. If I'm doing upper body attacks, he's on a different level than me. So I'm going to get in an area where I can level things out. I went to the store to get something to drink. I was driving back and I saw this sign like 2 blocks from my house that said Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I was like, this town's like 35,000 people, right? And this was in 2011 is when I started actually training Jiu-Jitsu. So I turned around, I got the number, I called the guy, and his name is John Church, and he is a black belt now under Pete Wilhelm. So he was an affiliate school of Pete's. I called him. He said, yeah, come in. And he had opened his school the month before. So he was a brown belt at the time. His school just opened. He had like 2 students. And I told him, his other 2 students had 0 experience. I was like, well, I used to wrestle. He's like, oh, I'd love to have you come in. I only wanted to watch, which is, I'm sure you hear that a lot. I just want to watch.
Yeah.
He wouldn't let me watch. He's like, you're going to put on a gi. I want you to train. And so my thought process was, this guy's a little bit bigger than me, and he's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. So he's probably going to submit me, but with my wrestling, he's going to have problems. I'm going to give him issues. Well, obviously, he just destroyed me. He submitted me, at will, did whatever he wanted. And I left there and I went, I have got to learn this. I have been walking around thinking that I can use my wrestling to defend myself. And there's guys like you, Brian, walking around that could just murder me. We were in California. We got married on a Tuesday evening, over the beach, and then we go back to our honeymoon hotel, and we get up Wednesday, and we spend the day, doing things on the beach and whatever. And it's Wednesday night, and there's a little area in Newport Beach where it's just a bunch of bars linking together. And we're walking across this street, and as soon as we hit the sidewalk, before I see this couple arguing, I hear them arguing, and I look ahead, and they're kind of walking and stopping, and they're walking and stopping, and they're arguing. She's yelling at him, and he's yelling at her, and they're both intoxicated. So we pass each other, and I told my wife, I said, stop just a minute. I need to watch this because it looked like it might get physical. And they get to the center of the street where we had just crossed, and it's a three-way intersection, cars, like a little roundabout. And at that point, there's a bunch of lights on him because of the street lights, and she hauls off and she slaps him. And this dude was about, he's probably 6'1", maybe 6'2", probably 230 pounds, older guy, probably in his late 40s. And he just reared back and hit her. He punched her right in the face, and the first part of her body to touch was the back of her head hit the concrete,
damn,
right?
Dude.
Sound like a watermelon, just bam. And when she hit the concrete, he stood over. And at this point, my wife looks at me and she's like, no. And I'm like, yeah, I got it. And she's not, she doesn't know if he has a gun or a knife. She's freaking out. She's not a confrontational person.
And you're probably not carrying.
No,
it's like a felony in California.
No. But I there's something in me, in my DNA, that I was like, I can't.
No, that's effed up. Even if she's open hand slapped him, damn, you're going to punch a girl straight in the face
so
like that.
I took my phone and threw it to my wife. I said, call 911. She's a nurse. So she went. So I ran up to the dude, and he was not facing me. So the first thing I did is I ran up, I shoved him so he would get off, not stand over her. And I looked at him, I was like, you need to get on the ground. And he looked at me right in the eyes, and I could tell he's intoxicated because he just kind of looked through me. But he was like, fuck you. And I was like, okay. I was like, you need to. And he started walking towards me. I was like, oh my God. So I grabbed him by the wrist and I grabbed him by the elbow. It was kind of a sort of a modified Russian tie. It wasn't like the arm was against my chest. And I pulled him to kind of change his level, and I did an inside trip, threw him, and he landed on his side. And when he landed on his side, I know you've thrown people in judo where all the oxygen leaves their body. Yeah. So he hit, and immediately I still had his arm, so I went right to a Kimura. I put the Kimura behind his back, and I got him to roll on his stomach, and I got his other arm, put it behind his back, and I put my shin on the back of his neck, so I had his face pinned on the concrete. Yeah. I had both hands pinned. I look over, and my wife is checking on this lady, and at this point, she's still unconscious, and now blood is starting to pool from the back of her head.
Dude.
Yeah. So
what a traumatic event.
Yeah. At this point, I'm like, okay, I'm holding down probably a murder suspect at this point, because I thought this lady was going to die. And the police show up, and he walks up to me. He's like, what's going on? I was like, this guy punched her. She might be dead. And so he didn't even have to touch the guy to handcuff him. He's like, just handcuff the guy. We rolled him over together, drug him to the curb. She finally started kicking her legs and waking up. Ambulance loads her up, takes her off. They took my statement. The whole thing happened in about 30 seconds, but the scary part was when I grabbed his arm, I kind of grabbed it in a way where if he went to punch me, I could steer him. He wasn't going to be able to punch me, but there was a point where I felt like he was reaching around in his front of his pants, and I couldn't see if he had anything, and I kind of got super worried, and that's when I just went ahead and threw him. But for me, it was really nice that all the basic stuff that I learned years ago, I didn't go, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. My body just took over.
It's kicked in.
I threw that dude down, put his hands behind his back. I was never in any danger other than if maybe he'd have pulled a knife, I'd had to disengage. But yeah, I got to use jiu-jitsu. My wife was like, I'd been her husband one day and she watched that. So obviously she was like super, yeah, it was a good, it was a good honeymoon for sure. She was,
You're a hero, dude.
She was like, that's the baddest.
Do you know what happened to the girl? Did you have to go back for any court statements?
No.
Give us any statements on the phone?
They took my statement, and I was like, they're going to call us back. I was like, I'm going to have to go to this guy's trial. And I never heard another word from him. There was probably 200 people standing around right before the cop handcuffed this guy. Everyone's looking at me, and I guarantee you there's 200 people staring at me, and there's cell phones everywhere. So I even went as far as I found a bunch of Facebook sites like Newport Beach locals, and I joined all those groups because I was looking for a video of it. I was like, someone's got to have this. I can never find a video because I was like, excuse me, that would be a really cool video to see. But Never found anything. Never got a call from the police.
Isn't that interesting? Like,
oh, they're probably still living together. She probably got out of the hospital and went right back to his house. I mean,
wow.
You know, you could tell that wasn't the first time they had fought. But that's actually the third time I have used jiu-jitsu in a fight that I had nothing to do with, and it was domestic. There was 2 times at 2 different gas stations in Tulsa where a guy was 2 different couples. I was just there. One dude like headbutted his girlfriend, knocked her down, and I tackled him, and I just mounted him, and I just held him there. Quick Trips in Tulsa, for people that know this, police are there all the time. They're like, that's where they go and get all their drinks and stuff. So, but this is the third time that I've been involved in some sort of domestic dispute. So it's like I told my wife, man. I was like, there's some kind of magnet, like I'm being put in this place for some reason. But it's, you know, anyway, it's good to know that my jiu-jitsu works, and it's fundamental stuff. I don't berimbolo people, you know, when they're beating up on their girlfriend. I just take them to the ground and hold them there. You know, and I think people forget, people get discouraged because maybe what they were trying really hard doesn't work on that purple belt. But we got to remember, we're training to fight people that don't train.
Yeah, I bring that up to people all the time.
And if you fight someone that doesn't train, it's like playing with a little baby. They can't do anything. You know, we got to remember that we're training against people that are trained to beat us. So don't get discouraged. You know, if someone wants to know, I will tell someone everything I know. I have no secrets, right?
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm here with Jason Ryan. He's going to show us some different Kimura strategy, Kimura trap, whatever you want to call it, videos. He's going to break this up into 3 or 4 different videos. So just kind of part 1, part 2, click on the future videos in the upload list. He's been on the channel before, and we're happy to have him back today.
All right, thanks. So Brian's going to lay down. We get into a north-south Kimura position. I know this is a common position, and a lot of times what happens is, you know, our struggle is we get this arm behind the back, and as we go to apply pressure for the break, he flattens it out. Sometimes he'll spin around, but either way, it becomes a scramble, and which is bad. We're in a dominant position. We're in north-south. We have his arm behind his back. We should win this, right? So this is a different way to break the shoulder, and it's a different way because I'm not only going to control his arm and his head, I'm also going to pin him where he can't move. So same setup. I've got the Kimura. I'm going to lift. Instead of stopping here, I'm going to drive his hand straight to the mat, and my elbow is going to go to the mat. Okay. I want to keep his arm close to his body, so I'm going to make that switch as I switch my legs. So if you come back here, you'll see this knee is going to slide in. This foot's going to step out. I'm going to bring his arm into his body. I've got a wide base. I'm on my toes. He cannot sit up. Is it up? He can't move. I have him pinned. Okay, I have his head controlled. I have him pinned. Now, I'm not going to take this arm and push. This is not a pushing Kimura. This is a pulling Kimura. I'm going to take my left hand and I'm going to pull. There's the break. Okay, he's tapping. One more time, pull. He's tapping right there. Just to show you an idea, if he's tapping at that point, this is how much more room I have. Okay, so we've got the head controlled. I like to pin the arm here still with my knee. We're going to lock up our Kimura. We're going to pick it up. We're going to drive it to the mat as close to his body as we can, followed by our elbow. Elbow hits the mat. Switch my legs. Big step, as far as I can, okay? Make sure this is in, and then I'm just gonna pull for the break, all right?
All right, guys, thanks.
Okay, so we're back in north-south Kimura position. This time, this guy is really big, really strong, or maybe even has a gi on. This is really good for the gi too. For whatever reason, I cannot physically get his arm behind his back. I can pick him up and he's just not going to go. So there's 2 different finishes I can do. Anytime I can incorporate my legs into an attack, it's going to be good. Legs are the strongest part of our body. So I'm going to incorporate my legs here to get this finished. Just hook up an S grip. That's going to be easiest to show. So he's here and I can't get this behind, right? So I'm going to keep my Kimura grip. I'm going to take this foot and I'm going to step over, okay? I'm keeping everything locked up. All I'm gonna do now is sit back to my butt, okay? Now, at this point, I'm not gonna pull his arms apart. What I'm gonna do is take my legs and push away, okay? Now, when I clear this, I don't care if you guys keep your legs apart or if you wanna cross them, it doesn't matter. I like to keep mine apart. I like to keep pressure on his head and pressure on his back in case he wants to roll. If he wants to roll, I really don't care, but from here, I'll get the break. Tap. Go back. Again, this is really good. I use this a lot in the gi because guys will grab their lapel and you can pick them up off the ground. They're just not gonna break that grip. So I've got my Kimura grip. I'm just gonna step over. I'm stepping over his hand. I'm putting a lot of pressure on his hand. So he can't get his hand out even if he wanted to. And then all I'm gonna do is just sit back. Okay? Then I'm gonna use my legs and I'm gonna drive my legs forward. Okay? Now, get the break. That's it.
Thanks, guys.
We're sitting in the lobby of the hotel waiting for the event to get ready to start, and Marcelo Garcia just walks off the elevator. Yeah.
Him in the background when Gordon's getting his life. Yeah. It's so funny, dude.
So my wife doesn't know who any of these people are. I hit her on, I swat her on accident. I was like, oh my God, that's Marcelo. She's like, who's that? I was like, just get the phone out. I was like, take the picture. And I walked over and I was like, and he was legit. You know, people say he's the nicest guy ever. Out of all the people I met, he was the only guy that he didn't just take the picture. I was like, all right, have a good one. He's like, where are you from? Did you come here? Well, is your team competing? You know, how he asked me questions. Wow. He honestly would have stood there and talked to me for 20 minutes if I wanted to. I was like, dude, you need to go do whatever you need to do. I just wanted a picture with you. I
am not worthy.
Yeah, he was the nicest guy ever. But I got to meet, awesome. I met him. I met John. So then we go into the event where they do the bracket release. And literally, I turn around and Bouchesha's standing there. I turn around again, and it's John Danaher. And it's just all the, Cyborg, everyone was there.
What's up, guys? Here with Jason Ryan for part number 3 on some Kimura details.
So again, we're gonna go north-south Kimura. We just showed where we stepped over with our legs and we sat back to our butt. We applied pressure with our legs to get the hand free. This time we don't need to fall back and we don't need to get the hand free. We're still gonna lock this Kimura up, but this time I'm gonna let go with this hand, okay? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the step over just like I did before, but I'm releasing here and I've gotta keep this tight. If I just go here, he's gonna pull his arm free, right? So I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna step over and I'm grabbing my own thigh, okay? It looks like I'm setting up for a bicep slicer, but this is gonna turn into a shoulder lock. So now I'm gonna post with my hand and I'm gonna S my legs. And again, like we showed in the first video, I'm doing a pulling motion with my arm. I'm gonna pull. Tap. Okay? So the motion you see, it's not much. It doesn't look like I'm doing a lot, but I'm getting a lot of braking pressure here. He's tapping right there. Okay? So one more time. This is good for, with the other one we have to fall back and we are giving up a little bit of position. We're in a top position, we're falling back to our back. So this one, we're not giving up any position. We're staying on top the whole time. So I'm locking up the Kimura. I'm putting my hand here to keep this arm pinned, and I'm also using it to catch my thigh. So as I step, I catch my thigh. Now he's stuck. He's not getting his arm out. He's not going to turn me left or right. I've got him pinned. I'm going to use this as a post. I'm S-ing my legs, okay? And then I'm just going to apply pressure. I'm just pulling with my arm and getting the tap, okay? So that is, you can link that together with the second video. You can use those, you can use them as, use one for an attack and then go to the next one, however you guys want to. But those are things I have success with as a smaller grappler against big guys that are just, they're so strong, I'm not gonna separate those hands. And there's no reason for me to spend a lot of time and energy separating their hands when I can use these attacks, and they're super effective. So
nice. Thanks, man.
Yep.
What's up, guys? Part 4, Jason Ryan. He's actually going to show a Kimura from a different situation, position. Kind of came up with us talking about things when we were training earlier. So I'm going to turn it over to him.
So this is a Kimura attack from top half guard. I think we can agree that we all end up in this position a lot. And the thing we fear, the thing we have to fear really most from this position is our partner shooting an underhook up, and starting to get my back or sweep me from here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kill his underhook just by my head position alone. Okay, I like to keep my head over here. He can't really shoot a deep underhook on me now. He might be able to do some things with my leg, but we're going to transition here pretty quickly. So I got to note where his elbow is, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this arm and I'm going to go elbow to elbow. Okay. Immediately I'm going to grab his wrist and lock up my Kimura. Okay. This is where a lot of people make the mistake. They try to finish from here. We got to get our legs loose. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my head as a post. Okay. And I'm going to bring my non-trapped knee on the inside. I'm using it as a wedge. So I can use this knee to pull my leg free, and then I fall into this what's called a T-Kimura position. I recently learned. Now, if you watch part 1, you know what to do. I'm going to scissor my legs. I'm going to come up, drive my elbow to the mat, step over the head, and get the break. Okay, we'll go back. So immediately, if he goes to shoot an underhook, we're going to get head positioning over his arm. We want to go elbow to elbow. At this point, there's no chance he's going to lock his hands together. I'll lock my Kimura up, get it behind his back. I'm going to use my head as a post, and I'm going to take my non-trapped knee on the inside. Okay? And I'm going to use it as a wedge, pull my legs out, fall to the T-Kimura position. The whole time I've got his hand behind his back. Now, he can't turn away from me from this position. He doesn't even want to. If he turns into me, there's lots of stuff we can do here. Go ahead and turn into me. We can start taking his back, okay? But for this move, we're gonna pretend like he just sits here for a second, and we're just gonna, to get up, we're just gonna scissor our legs up, drive my elbow to the mat, step over his head, and use a pulling motion to get the finish, okay? That is a good way to get the finish on that top half guard position without getting into some kind of crazy scramble. So remember, we're not trying to finish while he's still got our leg trapped. So that's a good way to keep him pinned the whole time, get my leg free, and then sit up for the finish. Okay?
Nice.
If I do something in the gym, like I'll heel hook people in the gi, I don't care. And they'll say, oh, can you do that? And I'll go like, well, yeah, I'm not in a tournament, we're in the gym.